The Leadership Factory with Toye Sobande. My name is Emmanuel Oyewole, PR expert and radio host. Toye is a consultant, leadership expert, administrator, speaker, and a columnist. And today we'll be exploring the topic leadership strategies for managing transition. Toye, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Right, great. We can't do this without talking about leadership. I mean, let's begin from the beginning. What is leadership one more time? I know we talk about this in every episode. We can't stop talking about this leadership.
Yes, leadership is not position.
Okay.
Leadership is not a title. I'll add one more part to it. Leadership is attitudinal. It's a soft skill. Attitudinal in the sense that the way you communicate with people, the way you see people, the way you see things, and your belief system. That's what gives you the leadership responsibility. Like I said in the last episode, leadership is taking responsibility. So when you take responsibility to better the lives of people around you, when you take responsibility to better the situation around you, the life of not only your family members, people in your community, at your workplace, and you solve problems for people, then you're naturally a leader.
Transition is another keyword we have here. How do you define transition in this context of this conversation?
You know, I like the title, Leadership Strategies for Managing Transition. Every now and then, we all experience one form of transition in our lives, either in our career, in a family, different aspects as it relates to you. And the word transition is synonymous to the word change. Of course, change is a loosely used word by people without really understanding the nitty-gritty or the implication of change. But change is not easy for a lot of people. Change is not acceptable for a lot of people. Change creates disruptions. And that's exactly what transition is about. It creates disruption in people's life because it takes you from one phase to another. It takes you from one chapter to another. It takes you from one experience to another. So for our viewers listening and watching right now, I want you to think through and ask yourself, at what point in time have I experienced a transition in my life? You must have experienced a transition when you move from one job to another. When something brings you to a new experience, like the COVID situation brought in a lot of transition for people. It changed the way we operate, it changed the way we do things, it changed the way we communicate, and it changed the way we even gather at events, at parties and all of that. It changed the way we do things. That's a huge transition that we were not prepared to experience. So ultimately, anything that translates, that takes you from one experience to another, whether that experience is positive or negative, is a transition. You may come as a shock, you may not have been prepared for it, but one thing I always leave people with is this: you must be ready for a change. Is that like you encounter change, or change is forced on you? Or you yourself, you go through change? Because as human beings, we are created to evolve. So our experiences are updated, just like updating the software of your computer or updating the software of your phone. You have to keep getting updated. So you have to go through that transition model.
All right, so it's obvious that a lot of people find it very difficult to make that transition. Why is that the case? Why do people find it difficult to transit from one position to another?
Okay, so like we said earlier, transition, it's a process. It's a period whereby you are changed from one state to another. You have an experience that, ultimately changes your life. Sometimes transition can emerge in form of a problem. It can emerge in form of a challenge. But like I said, why people don't know how to handle transition is because, number one, they don't understand it. Number two, they don't recognize it. So in this case, transition serves as a bridge. Transitions are bridges. They take you from one experience, they carry you to another experience. If you're a dreamer, if you're a visionary, you have a dream of becoming something, and you're studying on your dream, you're wondering, how is this dream going to be fulfilled? How am I going to accomplish this aspiration? How am I going to get this job? How am I going to get this money to pay for this school fees? How am I going to be able to go for this course or do that? Transition are bridges. They connect you from one point to another. And during the period of transition, one of the first things transition does for you is that it gives you perspective. You begin to see things differently. You begin to see your life differently. You begin to see the opportunities around you. Now, two people visited India, two friends on holiday. One saw people without shoes and started laughing at people that they didn't have shoes. The other person saw a business opportunity and said, wow, these people are not wearing shoes and they are this much, a lot of people. The guy started a business, started manufacturing shoes for people. The other guy was laughing at people without shoes. So they saw the same thing, they had the same experience, but came out with a different perspective. I heard from that story that the person who laughed at people without shoes ended up being an accountant in the company of the guy who started manufacturing shoes, who now runs and owns the company. So it gives you perspective. So you can stand on the mountain and have a view, or you can have a viewing. So what transition does for you, it changes your perspective about people around you, about your environment, about what you're doing. Then it takes you away from your unrealistic expectations. That's what transition does for you. He just changes your perspective completely. Another thing is that it gives you clarity. You see clearly. The things you were not seeing before, your eyes will just open. Because that's what challenges does to you. That's what problems does to you. It draws on your capacity and your skill. Because during the period of transition, you have to do a lot of questioning. You have to question the status quo, question yourself, ask questions, soul searching, review. So once you gain clarity, the next thing is that you have a sense of direction. So transition just offers you a sense of direction. Once you gain clarity, you have a sense of direction. So that's why I said when people don't recognize transition or they don't understand transition, they misrepresent it. They mystify it. And once they create a mystery around something, and around here, people get very religious unnecessarily. Yeah. And they begin to fast and pray over what they should think about, what they should reason, what they should ask questions, what they should engage other people who have gone ahead, who have done these things before, and ask questions. So when you gain direction, you will know what to do. That in the place of direction, you'll be able to answer the question of the how. How can I do this? What can I do this? Why is this thing so? Where can I get these things done? So those questions of the how, the where, the why, the whom, who can help me? Who do I know in this industry that I will answer those questions? Who can I get this advice from? Who can I, what book can I read? What magazine what blog can I read? What article can I read? And all those things help you to go through the transition process.
All right, thanks, Toye. So I'm sure you agree with me that transition comes with a lot of emotions.
Oh, yes.
How do you manage emotions? I'm sure these emotions will include fear, anxiety, whatever fear, whatever feeling.
Rejection and all of that.
How do you manage these emotions during this phase of transition?
Introspection. Introspection. Get support system. Introspection means think through you must be able to identify what triggered the transition. Something would trigger the emotion. Locate what triggered it. Question is, let's say you are expecting a promotion at work and they bypassed you and they did not promote you and they promoted someone else. It may have triggered something in your heart where you are now thinking, I want to leave this organization. I want to go and get another job. You feel resentful. You feel let down, or you are not recognized for the good work you are doing in the organization. It can create that negative feeling, and it can take you through that transition journey where you're beginning to think you need to change or you need to metamorphose into something. So you need to locate the emotion. You need to recognize the emotion. You need to now get counsel for it where there is need for it. Get someone who has been through your experience. Let them take you through the journey. Let them share their experiences of how they overcame their own situation. So it is in talking to people. If you need to talk to a therapist, it's not necessarily negative. You don't have to have a very terrible, don't stereotype or anything. Talk to professionals like myself who can coach you, who can go through that process with you. And that's why people get stuck, because they don't know who to talk to. And if you're talking to somebody who helps you to distill the issues, to break it down, that's the first part, so that we can recognize the emotions and deal with it appropriately and with time.
All right, so as we wrap up this conversation, what are the required strategies? I'm sure you mentioned a few in the course of the conversation, but what are the required strategies we need to manage transition?
For example, if the transition you're experiencing is in terms of your career, you want to transition from one job to another, you want to transition from one role to another, the first thing you must recognize is, do I have the skill set for the next level that I desire? Do I have the skill set for the dreams and the aspirations in my heart? So you sit down, pick up a pen and paper, and write your skills down. And find out, these are the skills I need to get to this next level. Do I have the skills? Or do I need to improve on those skills? Then the next point is identify skills that are transferable. Why did I say skills that are transferable? If you are within a certain industry, there's a skill set required for you to function in that industry. Now, if you restrict yourself to just that industry, you may not be versatile enough to be able to transfer yourself to. So that means in another industry, have a good knowledge of the industry and find out what the skill set that is required in that industry, and you can transfer the skill set to that industry. So identifying the skills, improving on the skills, then find out which skill set are transferable. How can I improve on those skill sets? And I said one of the strategies is the questioning yourself, getting perspective, introspection. Introspection is very, very, very important. That's in the aspect of career. It could be in the aspect of family. I was speaking with a lady when I was facilitating a training for an organization a while back, who said her own transition experience was when she had to have a baby. And the experience changed her life completely. To motherhood. It changed everything for her completely. So, and a lot of women go through this, where they have to run the home, take care of the baby, take care of their husband, take care of their mothers or their family, and yet still, so they face a lot of hurdles. And some women, just go into that phase whereby they are worn out, they're stressed out. And that's when they need support system around them. You need a support system whereby you can delegate those responsibilities, especially the domestic responsibilities where it's necessary, so that you can focus on what is important to you. And of course, your baby, your family is the priority to you. So you must be able to identify those priorities. You must be able to identify them in order of importance. How do I get to? So transition can be in any aspect of your life. So one key strategy which I will not fall short in emphasizing, if you need to talk to a professional, if you need to talk to a counselor, if you need to talk to a trainer, if you need to talk to an expert who will help you go through that process, you can seek them out.
All right, so thanks so much. We've explored so much at this juncture. Viewers will have to call it a wrap on this show today. Don't forget, you can always drop your comments or your questions in the comment section below. And please do well to subscribe to this channel for more information and more episodes when it's released and when it comes out. So next time, you have a wonderful, wonderful day.